No, this isn't a flying saucer in the pavilion at Brighton. It's a partly filled balloon. I had gone there to get some instruction in the art of ballooning. Now, the first thing is to fill it. We were using hydrogen, the lightest gas there is, and the balloon needed 24,000 cubic feet of it. My pilot and instructor for the flight was Mrs. Nini Boesman, a Dutch balloonist who had even been up in a balloon at the start of her honeymoon. One of the first things I learnt was that a balloon can be quite unmanageable even on the ground. I wanted to learn how to make it manageable in the air, for my plan was to go to Africa with a balloon and film the big game down below from the silence of a basket. Everybody had said that this would be impossible. Africa had thermals and jungles and strong winds and a good many other hazards besides. As part of the plan was to make a number of captive ascents on the end of a rope like this one. And as even a captive flight has to be controlled by throwing out quite small amounts of sand, what I saw at Brighton made me think that perhaps the critics of the idea had been right. Exactly 100 years before, Jules Verne had written his first book, and the hero of it had gone cavorting all over Africa in a balloon. 3 of us had planned to follow in some of his aerial footsteps, and since the other 2 were film men, we were going to concentrate on photography. But plainly, the first thing to do was to learn as much as we could about ballooning. After a score of jolts like this one, we realized we obviously had much to learn. Anyway, we eventually said goodbye, and I, as student balloonist, was off over Brighton on my very first flight, just missing the pavilion trees. Now, a balloon, as everyone knows, has to go with the wind. The pilot can't do much about that. So if you're going to fly over Africa, you have to have a good idea where the winds are blowing from. In January, the time we wanted to go, they blow over Africa from the east, and we liked the idea of starting off in Zanzibar. It was 8 months after the Brighton flight when the 3 of us arrived on the island of Zanzibar with our brand new balloon with 60 hydrogen cylinders and with the idea of flying across the Straits of Zanzibar to the African mainland. By this time, everybody on the island knew about our flight, and they were always asking us when we were going to go.
Jambo, umepata baluni wapi?
Nimepata baluni kwa baharia? Ndio.
Douglas Botting, balloon cameraman, spoke Swahili, and so got the lion's share of the questioning. For one thing, there was much to do, and for another, we had to wait for the weather and the wind to be right. Everybody agreed. It was an exceptional year, and Douglas even paid a visit to a local fetish man to ask him what he thought of our prospects. He certainly had a fine array of fetishes, all based on a light bulb theme, but as to our prospects, I don't think he rated them very highly.
Lakini nafikiri ni maji ndani ya taa.
Obviously, while we were keen on our balloon, he was far keener on selling us some of his curiosities.
Namna hiyo. Ni mazuri kabisa. Maridadi. Ndio.
He found it difficult to take in the idea of a balloon being so much bigger than a light bulb. But nothing would make him think that our idea had any merit whatsoever, compared with all of his.
Ndio. Haya, kwaheri mzee. Kwaheri.
A balloon may fly by being lighter than air, but its various parts have plenty of weight when they're on the ground. We enlisted a youthful group of Zanzibaris to carry it to our base. The best way of carrying the net without tangling it was for a large number of people to crocodile it through the streets. The wickerwork basket was the traditional sort, strong and light and virtually impossible to break. And, of course, there was also the anchor. The balloon fabric itself we laid out in a nearby hall and checked it for any punctures or damage. It was made of rubberized cotton, weighing only 2 ounces a square yard, but even so, there were a good 400 pounds of it. Balloon makers aren't found on trees these days, and this one was specially made by a Belgian in his attic. It took him 3 months. He also made the net. The anchor, as well as the basket, we found in the old airship base at Cardington. This is Dr. Livingstone's house. He stayed here less than 100 years ago, before leaving on his last great exploration in the heart of the unknown continent. In those days, all the explorers stayed in Zanzibar before going to Africa. All this gave our modern expedition a sense of doing the right thing in the right place, as we planned our own trip to the mainland 35 miles away.
Here is the coast, long coastline of Africa coming down. Here is north, and here is the island of Zanzibar with Zanzibar town where we are now. Well, the wind should be coming from the northeast, blowing us down this way towards Dar es Salaam. This would be a good area for us to land in. It's reasonably open. This area, bigger area, would be less satisfactory from our point of view.
This is fine so long as the winds actually are blowing in the right direction, but what's going to happen if they're not, for example?
Well, we've got a lot of Indian Ocean and a long time before we come to land.
A fourth man attached himself to the expedition out of nowhere. He was a hitchhiker, originally from Cape Town, called Karl Pau. He had with him a pet bush baby, and the two of them were later to become the first ever hitchhikers by balloon. The rope ladder, which we would use if we ever got stuck in the treetops, was very important to us for that trip from Zanzibar, as the coastal belt of Africa was almost entirely trees. It was all very well for Carl and the bush baby to play with it, but the rest of us spent a lot of time discovering that climbing down a rope ladder was an art to be learnt like any other. In fact, we spent a lot of time testing all our equipment.
Hello, Tony. Can you hear this all right? Can you? Okay, well, look, we'll go on and test the radios now.
Hello? Hello, Tony? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you fine. I can hear you excellently. Over?
You'll be off to test the wind now. Over and out.
Wind speed, well, it used to be about 10 miles an hour down here. It's probably about 20 miles up there. Shouldn't take us too long to get across like that. The balloon off. Have a look through the compass. See the course it's taking. Course seems to be 220. That should be just about fine.
Even if the wind was in the right direction, there was always the chance of coming down in the sea. After all, it was almost twice as far from Zanzibar to Africa as it is from England to France. Besides, who can complain about testing life jackets after a hard day's work when the sea is as warm as it is at Zanzibar? But nice as it was living on the island, sometime we had to go. We had decided to take off from the playing field of the King George VI School. To help us, the police had offered 80 constables to keep the crowd in order. The 2nd Battalion, the Coldstream Guards, volunteered a platoon of men to help with ropes. A science master suggested he should be in charge of the 60 hydrogen cylinders, and we happily agreed. He was the man who turned on the gas at breakfast time. Now, blowing up a balloon not only takes about 3 hours, but it's tricky. The more gas you put into it, obviously the bigger it gets, but it also becomes a lot more unwieldy as it tries to leave the ground. The reason we had such a long filling tube was there's always a danger of fire with cylinders, and it's good to keep the balloon a long way away. In the middle of the top of the balloon is the valve. You open this to let out a bit of gas by pulling a rope from right down in the basket whenever you want to come down. As the balloon fills, a steady job is lowering the 80 sandbags down a mesh at a time, for the whole gas bag is contained inside the net. Alan Root was there to help at the beginning, even though he was due to go off before the ascent and get ready to film us from the launch. The daughter of the gas man looked after the bush baby during the filling, for both it and Carl were now definitely accepted as passengers for the trip. The fire brigade was there, keeping an eye on the cylinders. After an hour and a half, the balloon was nearly half full, and one of the largest non-religious gatherings ever in Zanzibar began to accumulate. Superintendent Suleiman was the man who had supplied the 80 constables, and a lieutenant was there with the Coldstream Guards. Happy was the name we gave to the Zanzibari who brought the bags of sand from the beach. Douglas, looking every inch a photographer, kept himself aloof from work on the balloon. It's all very well just checking the outside of the balloon and seeing it doesn't get too many wrinkles in its fabric. But to ensure its shape is all it should be, you have to look at what is going on underneath it as well. Every so often, it was necessary to change over the cylinders as one lot became empty. This was a convenient time to let off another pilot balloon, for we were naturally obsessed with wind direction and checked it all the time. Work went on because the wind was still roughly in the right direction, blowing from a point slightly to the east of north. The time came for the all-important basket to be brought up. It was a 3-man type, 4 foot long and 3 foot wide, and not an inch too big. The bigger our balloon became, the bigger the crowd that collected to watch it. And certainly the important moment had come when the basket was to be attached to the huge bag of gas that had to lift it. The 4 corner toggles had to be connected by 8 ropes to the wooden ring suspended under the balloon. All the ropes from the net were fastened to this ring. At this time, we had about half a ton of sandbags holding it down. But this stage always needs a lot of manpower as well, for the balloon is swaying and the sandbags are heavy, and everything has to be coordinated just right. At this rather crucial moment, even Douglas put his cameras to one side. Like any good hitchhiker, Carl was working his passage. The sand going into the basket was ballast for the flight, to be thrown overboard when we needed to go up or to stop coming down. This might seem simple, but being in charge of a balloon is a full-time job. It's also extremely full-time when still on the ground. You've got to change over from sandbags holding it down to people holding it down, and this is never easy.
Push it up from down below. That's fine. Okay. Can you take it? Right, okay. Just let her sway. Doesn't matter. Just wait and then, right, lift now.
We still had the mouth firmly tied up to keep the gas in. Before the start, it would have to be opened.
Now, don't pull on those ropes. Let them go slack, because otherwise you'll go letting all the gas out before we get off. Okay, just let her sway and we'll find out.
A 200-foot rope to be used in the eventual landing had to be put aboard. Our life jackets were on, all systems were go. So the mouth was pulled open, for the gas had to be able to expand once we started to rise.
Hands off, everybody. Whoa, wait a minute. Hang on again. Right, now. Hands off. Okay, fine. Okay, now we've let out a bit more sand. Right. Why are they all clapping? Gosh, gay up fast. 300 feet already. How are you getting on with the camera, Doug?
Fine.
Heavens. That was fast. Anyway, we certainly cleared the trees at the edge of the field. About 1,000 feet now.
Where the balloon's shading this, that's one thing.
Yeah, it's still hot enough. Well, anyway, we're away.
I didn't think we'd make it.
I'm bloody sure the bottom's not going to hang in, man.
I'm quite certain we didn't make it.
Oh, it's all right. I'm just a bit hot in these things.
Gee, just look at those parachutes going, man. I never thought they'd open up.
Okay, Carl, you can, fine, go on throwing out cigarettes.
All right.
That's fine.
As we floated over Zanzibar, the first flight in a balloon from the island, we all had a tremendous feeling of elation which amounted to lightheadedness. No doubt those left behind us on the ground experienced a bit of a letdown, but 1,000 feet up, we didn't.
Just about okay. Back bearing 020, yeah, that's...
Look down there, you can see, I think. It's our launch putting out.
In fact, in our excitement, we'd forgotten to send Alan Root away to the launch early enough, and so they were left hopelessly at the post. The plan had been that Alan should take shots of us from the sea, and of course, if any accident happened, the launch would be standing by to rescue us. In the water, they could do little more than 10 knots, while we in the air were doing double that. No wonder the officer in charge was a little bit put out. In addition, we quite forgot to go on a listening watch, and so that the launch kept calling us up and couldn't understand why we didn't answer.
Yeah, it's a bit late. I should have gone off before. Oh, never mind. Well, we're certainly not going any higher.
I think we're going a bit faster, though, aren't we?
Than the launch? Yes, because...
Before the launch had properly got out of Zanzibar harbour, we were little more than a spot in Alan Root's viewfinder, and it was certain that at the lick we were going, they would never catch us up.
Launch the balloon.
The commander had every reason to feel vexed. Now completely out of sight to the following launch, we three in the balloon were going through a rather hysterical ceremony of christening her Jambo, spilling champagne all over the place in the process. As I say, we were a bit light-headed at this point, for our present success was the culmination of weeks of hard work and planning. And just because we were so elated, we tended to forget the balloon for the time being.
I christened this balloon Jambo. God bless her and all those who may float him, Carl.
Oh, thanks, man. Oh, it's just
We were
the
so
stuff,
much
honey.
beyond ourselves that we even offered champagne to the bush baby.
Come on, little chap, have some. Come on.
No, he doesn't like being out in the
No, I
daytime.
don't think he likes it.
No, well, let's not waste
Too
the stuff.
high.
Put it back.
As a result of these high-up jinks, we had neglected to control the balloon as we should have done. I therefore decided to throw out the trail rope. This is the normal procedure for getting the balloon's height under control. A trail rope weighs 45 pounds, and if any part of it is supported on the ground, you take that much weight off your balloon and she will rise.
Now.
Right. Gone.
How are you getting on with filming, all right?
Oh, I got a very, very nice shot, actually, down there.
We now began to study our position. I was taking compass bearings, and Carl tried to spot our position on the map.
Should bring us slightly north of Dar es Salaam.
The balloon was working perfectly, the mouth open to allow expanding gas to escape.
But it looks, you can see a place...
And the trail rope was just touching the sea. Nevertheless, you had to be constantly on the alert to correct a gain or loss of height.
I think we were too low.
Carl, can you throw out a sand? Right, for safe side now. God, it's loud.
Right, one's gone.
Better be another one, I think.
Down there, the air was a little colder than up above, and this cooled down our gas. For a time, it did seem as if we would hit the sea, but by throwing out sand, we at last managed to gain height.
We're still going on. I wonder where we are. Carl,
I think we're on this point here, where the little kink is.
it seems, I think we're a bit north. There seem
A lot of trees coming in.
certainly a lot.
I was puzzled as we approached the African coast, because it didn't seem to correspond with the bearings we'd taken and the map we were using. We had arranged for a ground party with a truck to pick us up. We could only hope that they would see us in the air.
Good in the viewfinder.
Near enough.
That's near enough. Well, we've made it. We really made it.
Yeah.
I think, what have we made for the beach? Try and make
Yeah.
a landing on the beach.
No, not there. No, too risky. We have to go further on. Still don't know where to go to land. Can't see the road coming.
One of the most surprising things was the marked change in what we heard when we left the sea for the land. Before long, the jungle fairly dinned itself into our ears. It was a thing we'd noticed before, that land sounds appear far clearer and louder when you hear them from the noiselessness of a balloon. We looked for a clearing in which to land. We were still travelling fairly fast, and I had to judge the right moment to pull the ripcord, which would open a slit in the envelope and let out the gas quickly. And then the trail rope caught in the treetops and began to rock the basket.
Fine, well, now look out, because we're going to hit it. And there we land.
Well, we made it. We'd been going at some 20 miles an hour over the trees, far too fast to land properly and with no open space to land in. Suddenly, a dead tree came along. We hit this with our basket and juddered temporarily to a halt. So I pulled the ripcord and down we went through the trees in a traditional manner to land on a fairly soft bit of the African bush. All the gas ought to have escaped, but the balloon twisted during the fall and landed on the panel pulled open by the rip. We had to twist the balloon back again to spill out the gas.
Hey, Carl, can you pull it over this bush a bit?
This side,
Make
it come this way.
Right, now up a bit more and get it a bit my way.
This may look a shambles, but no harm had been done. The bushes weren't spiky, and so there were no punctures. It was just a matter of packing the thing up, and also of contacting our ground party.
This is balloon calling ground party. Can you hear me?
Everybody on our side of things was all right, but no one knew where we were, least of all us. We only knew there was a road somewhere to the east. It was up to us to find it. We went on calling up our ground crew as long as we felt reasonable, but we had to find the road before nightfall. Anyway, we were in high spirits, for the first flight ever by balloon from the island of Zanzibar had been satisfactorily accomplished. The next stage would be to travel to the big game areas of Tanganyika, to try our balloon out there, and to see what we could see of the animals.
Over.